Hello and welcome to the Merryweather Knitting Podcast. My name is Gabriella and I'm coming to you today from my home in Germany, where I'm so excited to chat with you about knitting and crafting and all that I've been up to lately. I have some hand-dyed, natural, botanically dyed textiles to share with you, of course lots of knitting, and yeah, I hope you'll just join me for a little while and get cozy, get something to drink, maybe a project to work on. Today I have a delicious warm mug of papaya leaf tea, which is just a very delicious, very earthy tea. It's a very healing herb, and today I just wanted something like that, something very earthy and delicious. So that's what I'm going to be drinking. It's very freshly made by my husband. I'm just going to get started, and I have one sort of finished object to share with you, though it's very small and kind of unique. Otherwise, I just have some works in progress and some knitting thoughts, but I'll start with my mini finished object. And this is, I guess I should introduce you first to the star of this finished object. And this finished object is almost kind of a little bit cheating because it's not really completely finished, but for all intents and purposes it is. So this is Lucy. This is Esmeralda, my eldest daughter's very favorite doll, her the very most important doll that she has. I mean, that sounds unfair to her other dolls, but this doll is the doll with which she plays the most, the doll who just has like a personality of her own, and it's almost like she's another member of our family in a way. And if you, maybe if you were once a child and you played with dolls, maybe you had a doll like that yourself, or maybe if you're a mother or father, your child has a toy like that, and that doll is Lucy for us, for Esmeralda. And Lucy gets handmade clothes by Esmeralda's grandmother. Her grandmother sews her whole wardrobe to match Esmeralda's. Esmeralda gets lots of wonderful handmade clothes from her grandmother, and often she'll also make a little outfit for Lucy. So she's a very, very lucky doll in the sense that she just gets a lot of love and handmade things. And the finished object that I have to show you this week is also something for Lucy, this little bonnet. So this bonnet is just one that I kind of made as a swatch because, you may recognize this yarn, you probably will. I feel like bad because I pretty much knit with this yarn. I've just knit with it so much the last few months, making my rug sweater, making a little sweater for Esme, making just all kinds of things. But I had some of this light colorway, and I kind of wanted to see how it would be to make a bonnet out of this yarn, because I really, really love chunky baby bonnets, like with chunky yarn. I think they look so cute, and I love bonnets. I'm just so into bonnets for children. I think they're the most cute, charming, adorable kind of hat that can exist to me. I love kind of like nostalgic, beautiful, old-fashioned things, and bonnets are just like that. I don't know, they just look so cute, and I think they're very practical too because they cover the ears, they're nice and warm, they're easy to tie, and like for my little girl Vivian, who's like 1.5 almost, she might want to take off a hat if it's kind of like loose on her head, but a bonnet she'll leave on and she won't pull it off. So I really like bonnets, and I really wanted to make kind of a frilly, old-fashioned bonnet, kind of just pretty much just like this. And so I had this concept in mind, and I cast on, and I just wanted to make a very cute lacy bonnet. And so before I made one for my girls, I made one for Lucy, and it was just right because this is exactly the amount of yarn that I had left of this color. You can see this colorway was very little yarn left. I'm going to try to make, just maybe tie a string, like tie a thread of yarn and just attach it under her chin rather than make an I-cord, or rather than make another attachment, because I think it's okay. But Esmeralda really loves this bonnet on Lucy, and so I'm very happy that I made it for her. And it was the perfect kind of test protege, wrong word, kind of test, mini project before I knit a real bonnet. I mean, bonnets for little girls knit up very quickly, but this is a perfect, really quick one. It knit up in about an hour, because there is a lace pattern that I experimented with on it, which you can't see very well. There are some different kind of elements in there, but I think this was a real success. this little miniature project. And so I really do count it as a finished object because Lucy's gonna wear it, of course. And now I know which direction I'm going to go with making bonnets for my daughters that have this kind of really vintage, adorable, out of a picture book kind of a look. Yeah, I just think it's so cute. Look at that. Is that like not adorable? Like, look how cute. It's a little lacy. It's got this little look. It just frames her face so cute. Yeah, I think she's a very cute doll. And I mean, this hat just suits her very well. So I'm going to make some coinciding hats for Esmeralda, her mother, of course, and for Vivian too. And I look forward to that. It's going to be completely designed by me. And I don't know if anyone else really cares for these kind of hats, but I feel like it's so cute. Maybe we'll write up a pattern for it because I don't know, it's just so adorable and so fun, and I just love it. I think it's so cute. So that's my first finished object, and big thank you to Lucy for modeling it so well. It's very beautiful on her. So yeah, that is, I mean, if you could get that as a finished object, that was the first one, but it was such an exciting, fun project to do because I just kind of cast it on, experimented a little bit, and then cast it off, and I had the finished piece there, and it was just wonderful. So yeah, now I'll move on to my works in progress, the little projects I have on the needles at the moment. You know, usually I've talked about this often, but I'm quite a slow knitter. I don't move very quickly, but I savor each stitch, so it's okay. I have my little green socks to share with you. I finished the cuff and the heel turn, and I'm on the foot of the first sock. I debated about how long I wanted to make the cuff, and I decided to make it not too long enough that it could fit right out of like a pair of short boots, but that it could peek out a little bit, but not a very, very long cuff. Could wear these with house shoes and all kinds of things. And this project is a special one because these socks are going to be going to the Aktion Grüne Socke, which is a kind of charity here in Germany, which is nationwide, and they distribute socks to women who are going through chemotherapy for ovarian cancer and other cancers. And because your feet and extremities can get cold while you're going through chemotherapy, the idea is just to give a pair of hand-knit socks to the women in that situation and to kind of encourage them, keep them warm, and just, I think there's just something so special about getting something handmade. I know how much it would mean to me in that position, so I'm really excited about knitting these and sending them off. And yeah, this foot is working. Tonight I will have some knitting time on it because we're going to be going, we're going to have a little bit of a drive. We're going to kind of a pumpkin festival tonight where we're going to just carve pumpkins and spend some time outdoors, and it's about an hour away, so I'll get some good knitting time on this sock. I love to knit socks in the car. I think my favorite car project has to be socks, although I do also love shawls in the car. I think shawls are also really fun. I mean, come on, anything. Also like the body of a sweater. I mean, anything's fun if you have a long car ride, but for quick car rides, definitely socks, because it's just so easy to pick up, knit a few stitches or a few rows, and put it down, and after a few car rides, I feel like it's progressed so much. So ideally, I'd always just have a pair of socks in the car waiting for me to knit on, because I don't drive here in Germany pretty much at all. Nick does most of the driving, and then if there's anything local, I walk or take public transit and things like that. So anyway, that is my little sock project held in this gorgeous project bag that was gifted to me by my mother-in-law, and it's just very, very practical and lovely. Yeah, moving along quite quickly today, I have my other big project of the moment. I have my Bifurca vest, which is such a joyful, exciting project. I lost stitches, I better pick them up. This cable is technically too short, but I don't have a longer one available, so the stitches are all kind of jammed on there, and so I have to be careful that they don't slip off when I'm like lifting it up. Oh no, and now the needle's getting undone. Just a second. Let me try to get it all organized here. Okay, there we go. So yeah, this is my Bifurca vest, and I've knit pretty much, I think I have 2 more rows before I'm finished with this part, and then I start knitting the sides. It's a modular knitting pattern. So you knit one piece and then you knit modularly to create kind of the shape of the body, and then you continue down together and join it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful pattern. I really enjoy knitting it. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm knitting it because it calls for sport weight or DK yarn, and I had this kind of lighter weight, beautiful, naturally dyed fingering weight yarn, and I decided to hold it double for this project. I got gauge, and I like a kind of denser, thicker fabric when it comes to especially color work. I just like fingering weight projects that have a little bit of structure to them as far as gauge goes. I just think it's lovely, especially when it's kind of more rustic, 100% wool non-superwash yarns, which this is. It was hand dyed by my friend Alexandra, and it's just gorgeous yarn. And it's like, honestly, there's just those moments in those projects where the yarn makes it so special. I mean, it's a combination because the pattern is stunning, but for me, this project has really been just so special because of the yarn too. I love the colorway combinations. It's kind of a very subtle, low contrast combination, and I just think it looks so natural and beautiful and special, and just, I love how it looks, and I love how it's progressing. And there are these little bits of kind of like color work down in this part. It's like just checker, like knit one, knit one, knit one. But I have then combined other ones from this mini skein set I had of the same yarn from Alexandra. It was this mini skein set called The Lighthouse Keeper, and there was an indigo dyed mini skein in some pink shades and some more natural, neutral, low, kind of just really relaxed, calming, creamy shades. There was kind of like an almondy cream, and then more of a warm cream. And yeah, I have been using that as all the contrast colors, but I added one pink one with a lighter one, and then I did the indigo with the lighter one, and back to the pink. And it's just, I love the way it's looking. I also put, there was an option to do contrasting yarn on the cast on edge, and I did that too with one of the indigo mini skeins, and I just think it's so beautiful. But I was, my dilemma here, so here we're going to come to the moment where my little dilemma with this project is that unfortunately I was, I think, a little bit too optimistic when it came to the amount of yarn I'd need for the project. I had 200 grams of the main colorway, and I thought that should be enough. It's a vest. It's a cropped vest, so it's not a full-length vest. It has no sleeves. 200 grams should be okay, but unfortunately I was too optimistic, and I don't think that it will be enough for me to knit the whole rest of the sweater. So the question is what to do. There's no way I'm going to like frog this project. There's no way that I'm going to like not finish it because I'm so in love with it. I just love how it looks, and I think it's going to be just such a practical piece for me, and I just love it so much. So I can't rip it back and do it again. I want this exact thing that I'm holding in my hands. But I don't know what to do. So I'm at the point, and I've been like knitting a row the last few days, every day, kind of putting off finishing this section because I know it's the next section when I knit the rest of the body that I'm going to have to change something or do something because I can't. I'll show you how much yarn I have left. Yeah, it's just not going to work. It's not going to be enough. So I just have this much yarn. I have to weigh it. I feel like I need to weigh it, but I would say this is probably about 30 grams, maybe 25. Of yarn, so it's just not enough for the body, I don't think. Yeah, and I don't know what to do. Okay, but I have a couple of ideas, and please, if you have ideas about, like, please just tell me anything. I'd love suggestions as to what you would do if you were in my position. Probably you wouldn't be in my position because I'm sure that you are wiser than me and wouldn't like misjudge the amount of yarn you'd need. But anyway, I have thought about it, and I've thought about trying to find a similar yarn, which will be difficult because this is a really unique yarn. It's 100% wool, non-superwash, like I've said. But it's also not like a very rustic yarn. I don't know if it's merino. I have to look on the tag. I still have the tags. But it has some like, it's very natural feeling, but it's soft. And it's definitely something you could wear next to skin. It's not like a very rustic, scratchy yarn, and scratchy is not the right word always either. But like I have some Rauma yarn, which is Norwegian yarn, I think, or Swedish. I think it's Norwegian. And the Rauma yarn is beautiful. It's sport weight, but it's got a little bit more. It's a little bit more toothy, And I also don't think it's scratchy. Like my girls have a sweater made out of Rama yarn and they wear it next to skin. It's not too scratchy, but it is more rustic feeling, and it has kind of a little bit of a different texture, and it would look so different if I were to knit that with this. It just, the texture and the visual appearance of the yarns, they just look so different. Like this has, I wouldn't say a sheen because it's still matte, but it has like, I don't know, it just has a beautiful visual kind of, it's very flat and smooth compared to one of those very toothy, very, very woolly yarns. I feel like I'm not describing it well, but maybe you know what I mean. But what I thought about a potential yarn that I think might be kind of okay with this and might kind of seamlessly blend would potentially be Sandiscan Sunday or double Sunday. You know, I knit this yarn held double, and I think double Sunday would work. So I could just use double Sunday rather than just 2 strands of Sunday. But I think the gauge is almost identical, or like not the gauge, but the amount of yarn per 100 grams is almost identical. Well, I hear Vivian, but she was her papa, so it's okay. But yeah, I think it would work. It could work. I don't know. I'm just nervous because there are no local yarn stores to me that I know about that like stock Sandiscan, where I could go in and look and see, you know, what colorways they have and feel the yarn myself. So I'd have to order it, and that's like, of course, always like a bit of a gamble, especially when it's like this, like it's going to be with this project, it's going to go together. But on the other hand, I think it will look really cool. I think it wouldn't look bad if I have a different yarn as the modular part of the body knitted down. I think it could look cool, and just to be a vibe. I love like kind of patchworky thing right now. I love the kind of like mixing and matching colors and textures, and kind of keeping it unique and interesting that way. So I actually think it might make the project even more special to have kind of a little contrast thrown in there. But I don't know, it's really nerve-wracking. If you've knit with Sandiscan Sunday or double Sunday before, tell me about your experience, if you like that yarn at all, like in general, how it feels, if it's like, because I think it's merino wool. Just give me any feedback if you've knit with that yarn before. I just would love to hear about it. But yeah, it's a little disheartening to have to kind of put a pause on this project until I figure that out. I probably will just go ahead and order some yarn because I really just want to have this finished, especially by December, because I have like projects in mind for December and for the Advent season that I want to do, like just especially in December, and kind of just have like as December projects. So my goal for a lot of my projects right now, or my 2 main projects, are really to finish them by December. But yeah, so I'm probably going to end up ordering yarn, but yeah, I'm just so unsure about what colorway. Ideally it would be like a little bit darker than this main colorway, so it's kind of just a little darker, but maybe it won't be, we'll see. I don't know. Yeah, that's the update with this project, this gorgeous project. It's just so beautiful, and yeah, like I said, it would just be a shame to like not have it and not finish it, because it's not one that I just want to have languish in just a closet for months and years. I really want to finish it, so I'm going to finish it for sure. We'll just see how and when I do that and what it takes, but yeah, please let me know if you have any ideas or suggestions or tips or experience with something like this before. I would just love to hear your take. I need a sip of tea because it's such a dramatic, oh no, I spilled some, such a dramatic event, having like knitting projects that just don't in some way kind of have like a little bump in the road. It's always very dramatic. Although I do think at the end of the day, when you finish a project that had a little kind of bump in the road on the journey to finishing it, it is all the more satisfying, all the more wonderful. So yeah, and if you watched this podcast before, I feel like I often have little bumps in the road with my projects. So it's just not new for me. I love this mug. I think it's so fun. It's like a little face of a lady, and it's just so cute. Isn't that such a cute mug? And I love the texture. It's kind of terracotta textured and has these little speckles in it, and it's just such a cute mug. It's very fall. Okay, so I have one more knitting project to talk about very briefly. And because of the kind of confusion and not being so sure what's happening with my Bifurca vest, I returned to a project that is a special one too, and that is another little shawl design of my own that I started working on months and months ago, and I really loved, and I took it with me to the States, and I mostly worked on it while I was in the States in like April to June, I was there for a while. And then I kind of came back and moved on to other projects, but I've returned to my shawl, and I'm just really excited about it. I don't want you to get too much of a look at it up close because I'm still in the process of kind of figuring it out, seeing how it's going to shape up and be in the end. And it's a very simple, very, very simple design, but my hope is that at the end it's a nice overall shape, and it's like going to be a very beginner-friendly pattern, a very relaxed, chill pattern. Kind of like a mindless knit in a sense, but have a lovely, beautiful, simple design that at the end you have something very beautiful. So that's my hope for it. But it's so simple, so I don't want to show you the huge overall. Hopefully you don't get, but this is the yarn. I just want to show you the yarn. And I've been spending quite a lot of time on this project the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I feel like I have to share it because it's just been such a big part of my knitting life actually. But I'm holding it all bunched up, so yeah, it's still a surprise. But I'm knitting it out of this stunning yarn, which I designed my first shawl with. It's Juniper Moon Farms. I feel like I always mess up the name, but it's Juniper Moon Farms Harriet yarn, which is 100% baby alpaca. And I had this yarn kind of in my stash for a long time, and I just adore it. I think this yarn is some of the most soft, lovely, dreamy yarn for a shawl and for accessories, and I just love it. I love my Calville shawl, which I actually have right here. This is a pattern I designed and released a couple of years ago. This is my Calville shawl, my first shawl design. It's my most worn shawl by far. I wear it all the time. I just love it. It's so lovely. I love the design, of course, because it was my own and I kind of got to make it how I would dream a shawl would be, but it's really also the yarn, which is just so luxurious and so wonderful. It's just so, so soft and so wonderful and keeps you so warm, and it's just like a cloud, but not like too light and fluffy. It has some structure, just the absolute dream yarn for an accessory if you like soft yarns. And I tend to love woolly yarns and very natural yarns that have like some texture and earthiness to them, but this yarn, it's just so special and just something when I need a really cozy, gentle, soft something around my neck. It's the perfect yarn. So I'm loving knitting with it, and I'm knitting with this gorgeous colorway. This is the lavender colorway, I think, and it's just so beautiful. And the other thing is that these yarns, like the colorways are so multidimensional. And they're a little tiny, like they're kind of almost tonal in a sense, not that they change big, but there's just so many different three-dimensional depth and there's all kinds of so much depth in the colorway, I guess I'm trying to say. And so it's very, very beautiful. And I feel like this lavender colorway is almost like a periwinkle blue, bluish purple. And so it's a really special, gorgeous colorway, and it's just a joy to knit. And the soft, beautiful yarn is so wonderful. It's just knit in your fingers, it just feels amazing. So yeah, there it is in the ball. This has also been a big part of my knitting life, so I also hope and dream to have this project finished by the end of November too. Yeah, because like I said, I have big plans for December. That would be really special to have it finished, but we will see. And then I'll write up the pattern and maybe find some test knitters. And so if you're ever interested in being a test knitter, I think I'm going to do test knitting calls mostly on my newsletter once a month, which is the Merryweather Journal. Although sometimes I also just will do one on Instagram. But yeah, if you're interested in ever being a test knitter, definitely subscribe to my newsletter, the Merryweather Journal. I send out a little monthly newsletter there, and it's kind of just like an intimate space. I share projects, but then also just share a little bit about life, a recipe, a poem, kind of just artful living inspiration. But yeah, now you've seen my knitting projects of the moment. I'd love to hear what you're working on, what you're enjoying this October, going into November, what kind of projects you have on the needles, what you're excited about casting on, if you've finished any projects lately. I would just love to hear about them. Really briefly, I wanted to show you some of the natural dyeing I've been doing. I wanted to make a video separate, but I just never get around to it. So I just gathered some things and thought I'd share them with you today. I've really found a new hobby, passion, fun inspiration in this craft or this kind of discipline, an art form of natural dyeing, specifically textiles. I haven't really dyed any yarn at all yet, and I don't know if I will. I'm sure one day maybe, but I've loved dyeing textiles and repurposing and kind of upcycling old pieces of clothing, old textiles, leftover fabric scraps, but also then just garments in general. I sewed up a couple of garments with the intention of natural dyeing them. I sewed them up in white linen actually, and I did natural dye them, but I'm just going to share with you a couple of things. So the first thing that I tried with natural dyeing was to use foraged elderberries. Berries are notorious to not be very light fast and color fast, but I wanted to try it out with elderberries because at the time there was just an abundance of elderberry near where we live and where we go to forage in the forest. And so I gathered some and I made a little dye pot, and in that dye pot I let these cloths, these pieces of clothing and fabric just soak and naturally dye. I added some vinegar because I had read that vinegar kind of can bring out the purples of elderberry as a dye. So I added quite a bit of vinegar. It's the acid, that works. It's like kind of like a chemical reaction. And before that, what I did with all my fabric, that was because I have only silk, which is my only protein fiber that I'm working with. And then the other fabrics are all cellulose fibers. So they're all plant-based fibers, cotton and linen. So I first actually moored into them, which means prepared the fibers, using tannin in the form of oak gall, which is a kind of oak galls are kind of like oak apples. They're a pulverized kind of powder from them. I soaked the fabric in there, and also alum, which is a kind of a chemical which I soaked all my cellulose fibers in. I also prepared my protein fibers in alum as well to kind of mordant them and prepare them to better receive the dye. If you know about natural dyeing, you probably know all these things, but if you don't know, this is interesting to learn if you ever want to do it yourself. But I had this prepared fiber, and so I put it inside the bath, and I'll show you how it turned out. So this is the first one. This is the elderberry dyed linen, and I feel like you're not going to see it well on camera because it's such a subtle color, but it did dye it a beautiful light purple lilac-y shade, kind of a grayish lilac, mauve-y purple. And so I was really excited about that. I feel like you won't even be able to see it on the camera. I can see, and it looks just so washed out because of the light. But it did turn out to be a purple. And then I dyed this t-shirt as well. And I'm going to hold it up like this because maybe that will help you'll be able to see it. But yeah, I dyed this t-shirt, this old t-shirt, and it also turned out to be this purple color. It's very cool. This was just a white t-shirt, an old t-shirt that I wanted to get rid of, but kind of decided to upcycle as like a dye experiment piece. And I really loved the result because it was this beautiful grayish purple. And it was kind of a shame. I had wished that I had dyed something of Nick's, like a big t-shirt of his, a white t-shirt of his, because I know that he would love this color and would wear it and it would suit him very well. But this color doesn't suit me at all. White would be okay on me, but this like purpley grayish color just is not my color. So I'm probably going to end up over dyeing this to something else in the future. But it was very fun as a first natural dye experiment, and I can just encourage you, if you've ever wanted to try natural dye, just to try, because the experiment and like putting something in and bringing it out a new color is just so thrilling and so much fun. So yeah, that was my first experiment, and then I knew, okay, I want to try something else. So I ordered some weld, which is a very ancient yellow dye stuff. It's a plant that grows native to where I live, and I ordered some online to try because I didn't know where to find it. I ordered some online and I made a dye bath with this yellow dye weld, and I dyed some silk, which turned out this beautiful buttery yellow. You can get very, very vibrant yellows, but I didn't do very much for my first dye bath, but it's this beautiful butter yellow on this silk. It's so beautiful. And I'm thinking probably that we're going to bundle dye this or eco print on it to make a beautiful silk scarf. We also then did, first I'll show you the other weld project I did. Then I dyed this shirt with weld. It was a shirt that I did so intentionally with the idea and the intention of naturally dyeing it. I sewed it up out of white linen, kind of leftover scrap linen, so it's kind of patchworky, this piece. But yeah, first I dyed it with weld, and that's the main yellow color on this shirt. Yeah, it's a beautiful shirt. You can see it's a light yellow. And then what I did with this shirt is I experimented with eco printing. So first I did some bundle dyeing with a silk scarf to kind of just try it out for the first time. Did some marigold petals and just bundle dyed it. It was so much fun, and I gave that to my mother-in-law for her birthday. But then we did some eco printing with some gathered leaves. So my favorite resource, I mean, there are some incredible resources for natural dyeing online, on YouTube, on Instagram, but I think I don't want to say favorite, but one really informative place has been Nicola Brown here on YouTube. She is just so knowledgeable and does a lot with foraged material, with a lot of just very ecological kind of what you have material without much like, not like you have to go and buy material for this project. It's kind of like really native things. She uses things she finds. She taught me how to make rust water, which I'll share about in a minute. And she just is really cool. And she has like so much information on her YouTube channel. So definitely check her out if you're interested in natural dyeing, especially if you're interested in like very sustainable, kind of just natural dyeing with what you have. I also love Billy New. She makes really fun videos on YouTube. Billy New is the name of the channel. Her daughter's named Billy. I forget the woman's name who made the channel, but I love her natural dyeing videos. She does an amazing job. But anyway, Nicola Brown talked about gathering leaves on her channel and gathering oak and blackberry leaves for eco printing. And so I was really inspired by her, and I decided to give it a try. And actually she had this video where she then modified it with iron, and they looked really cool in black, and I was gonna do that, but I don't think I'm going to, because I tried eco printing and I just love how it turned out. It just looks so cool. As you can see, the leaves really showed up. For my first eco print, I think it's okay. I mean, people get beautiful, really perfect prints, and they're obviously a little bit broken up, not perfect on mine, but I feel like that adds to the charm. That's really cool. You can see this is a blackberry leaf print. Here we have that's an oak leaf here, and there are just these gorgeous prints on here, and I think it's so beautiful and so special, and a piece that I just cherish. And I have thought about over dyeing it, and I'm sure I will one day. I think that's also a fun part of the whole process of natural dyeing pieces, like naturally dyeing them. Like this piece, if it fades or if I just don't like it, I can just re-dye it with something else, or add some more foliage and do another eco print or something. I think that's really fun. So I love that. But I love this yellow. I love the earthiness. I think it really looks like this shirt just kind of emerged from the forest floor in a way. It's just really beautiful on the linen. So this project I just adored, and it was so much fun. And then I also did some eco printing on this. This was also dyed with weld. What I'm wearing, this little silk scarf. I love wearing like little silk scarves and bandanas. I think they're just a fun accessory. And I had the silk scarf and I soaked it in weld for the weld exhaust bath. So all the little bit I had left, I put in a glass bottle after dyeing these two pieces, and I just let this sit in there for ages, like a week or two. And then I brought it out and I eco printed it with, my intention was to kind of make a word, like to write a word. I tried to cut out of onion skins, and I put it on there. I was like, maybe I can get it to work. But I dyed it I eco printed it with onion skins, and then it didn't really turn out. You can somewhere, I don't know if you could tell here, but you can see an L. You can almost see the word, but then you can also see just the little shapes of the onion skins. And I did purple onion skins and yellow, and then you could see kind of the variation of shade. I just love it, and I'm obsessed with it. I think it's such a cute little silk scarf and so fun to wear, and just love it. So it's just so fun to have a naturally dyed little accessory like that. I have some more silk and I'd love to make a scrunchie or two. They're just so fun to wear and add such like a little something to your outfit. So yeah, I loved that. But the last thing that I did, the most recent project I shared about in my most recent video, which was a vlog, I had some pomegranate skins and I dyed a pair of overalls, or yeah, kind of a jumpsuit that I had sewn out of white linen in pomegranate skins, which that's also a yellow dye. I made a dye bath and I dyed them in there. And I dyed them because I've read and seen that you can modify that beautiful yellow dye from the pomegranate skins with iron and make it become an olive green or a gray or a black. And so I wanted to try that out. I wanted to experiment with that. A couple of months ago, I knew that I'd want to try modifying with iron, and rather than buying ferrous sulfate, I think is the chemical, I decided to make iron water out of rusty nails and rusty pieces of metal. So I just added some water, vinegar, and the rusty metal to a glass jar, a glass bottle, and let it just sit and rust away. And I did that, and then it ended up working, that it became very rusty. And so I had this yellow fabric that I dyed, and then I poured the rust water inside, and it just transformed the jumpsuit into this beautiful gray piece. And I shared this in my vlog, so I feel like I don't want to talk about it too much because I've already shared it. If you've seen it, if you haven't, go check it out. My first vlog, and it was so much fun to make. But it really worked, and it looks so cool. Honestly, I was in awe. So it didn't turn olive green, which was kind of my dream, but it turned this very dark gray, charcoal gray, almost blackish color. Here next to my black shirt, it definitely looks grayish, but it has almost a green undertone. It has a very unique undertone that I feel like I just have never seen in store-bought regular gray clothing. And I'm not usually a gray person, but this is just so cool. I love it. And I've already worn it. I've worn it on cold days with just like a black top underneath, like a black turtleneck. It's kind of like a layered piece, and it just feels so cool and so like just such a cool outfit. And so I really love how it turned out. And yeah, we'll see how it lasts, how this dye stays. I'm hoping that it stays well, and if not, then I'll just over dye and keep working on it. But it's just, this is one of my most, like, this is one of the most exciting, cool projects I've done so far with natural dyeing. I'm just so pleased with it, and it's honestly just miraculous to see how the colors transform and how natural materials just have all these colors in them. I feel like it's just such a forgotten art and a forgotten resource to us. That's just something I had never even considered before. You know, like the colors of our clothing, where they come from, why they're there, the history of that. You know, for most of history, we only had the colors available to us in our environment, in the plants and in the materials that we just have around us. And people made a beautiful palette with just the limited, you know, it's actually not a limited amount, the abundance that was available to them. And all over the world, the different colors and the different color palettes that people had from their environment. It's just so cool. So yeah, I have really enjoyed natural dyeing, and I encourage you, if you're interested in it, to just give it a shot, try it out. It's so much less work than I thought. For some reason, I always thought like, yeah, it's fun, but that seems like so much work, but actually it's not. It's really more like just like sitting, it's so much like cooking in a way. You kind of just like make a dye pot, let something sit in there, and then take it out and check it out and see what happened. And yeah, it kind of just does its own thing, and it's really fun. So I've been really enjoying that, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed seeing those projects too. But anyway, otherwise, I think that's all I have to share with you today. This next week, I'm excited to, hopefully figure that out with my Bifurca vest, and hopefully knit another bonnet or two. We've just had a wonderful October, and I hope you have too. I would love to hear what you're working on, what you're up to, what you're inspired by lately. And if you would like to find me, you can find me on Instagram as Merryweather Living. You can find me on merryweatherliving.com, and of course on my newsletter, the Merryweather Journal. Please do subscribe, it's so much fun. I'm also in Ravelry, though I'm not very good on Ravelry. There is a Ravelry group, but I haven't checked it in ages. I'm so sorry. Definitely better to find me other ways, I think, than that. But yeah, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day or night whenever you're watching this, and I look forward to seeing you again next time for more knitting and crafting chat. Take care.